It's the Mystery of Unknown. It's a Pokemon that resides only in this ruin. It's at the outskirts of Silesian Town. Just go north. You will see a cafe. How about we meet there? I think that is a pretty good spot. I've heard the food is really good too. Yep, that should be it. And if you don't mind me asking, how long is our order going to take? 15 to 20 minutes? Okay, thanks. Alright, looks like our order is going to take 15 to 20 minutes to arrive. Tell you what, I am starving. And I feel so tired. It's nothing like relaxing after a good long, hard day of work. All my muscles are so stiff, and it's because I don't do this quite often. I like to read books, write research papers, but Professor Rovin told me that the best thing that I can do sometimes is go and look at the Pokemon up close and observe their normal behaviors in their natural habitats. So I started going to all the places that I've always wanted to go to, and that's how we met at the Silesian ruins. Yeah, but that does mean that I've not kept in touch with you all that much, and as your Pokemon Professor, it is my responsibility to make sure you have a smooth journey. I do apologize for that, and I hope I can make up for it tonight. Yep. Tell you what, I have a question. Have you noticed the night sky recently? There's so many occurrences of aurora lights these days, right? These nights are intense, not generally speaking, but in terms of aurora lights too, the frequency is intense, the intensity is intense as well. There's a legend that says that whenever Dialga is in the skies of Sinnoh, the aurora light activity increases, and it's actually more than a legend, it's actually true. We have observed electromagnetic activity increasing whenever Dialga is in our atmosphere, and that causes an increase in aurora lights, of course. Last time we saw Dialga actually was 3 years ago at the top of Mount Coronet, and it was when Team Galactic was trying to destroy Sinnoh, so not good. But we were saved by the trainer, the same trainer actually that was Professor Rowan's trainer 3 years ago. And ever since then, we haven't seen Dialga at all, so I'm a little bit concerned. I hope I'm just overthinking it and just imagining it in my head, but I do feel a little bit concerned over why it's back again. But I hope Dialga's gonna go away soon, and I'm just overthinking it in my mind. I need a sip. Tell you what, while we're here, how about I look at your Pokedex and also the Pokemon that you've caught? Let's see your progress. Yeah? Okay, let's take a look at your Pokedex. Alright. Let's start by looking at your Pokedex. If you look at the very top, you'll notice that it says 6 and 46. The 6 corresponds to how many Pokemon you've caught, and the 46 corresponds to how many Pokemon you have seen. If you're confused by the 6, I'll just tell you that even though you have 4 Pokemon, your Turtwig and your Starly evolved, so they count as 2 different Pokemon, Grotle and Staravia, that you've caught, and that's how you get the number 6. I would recommend that you try catching more Pokemon and diversify your Pokemon options. Even if you don't plan on using them, you can just put them in the box and they'll get transferred over to me and I can take care of them. But considering you're at the early middle part of your journey, this amount of progress on the Pokédex is not bad at all. I think it's pretty decent. Now let's look at the Pokemon that you have. That is so great to see. Your Turtwig has evolved into Grotle. You know, the first time I saw you guys at the Pokemon lab back in Sanjam Town, I knew you guys had a special bond. And it's great to see that this Grotle is doing great with you. Magikarp. Quite interesting. If this Pokemon evolves, it's a very strong one to have on your team, but if it doesn't, then you're stuck with a Magikarp, so tread very wisely. Alright, I am not surprised by this one. Staravia is the bread and butter of every person's team. There's something I'm going to give you after we look at your Pokemon that might be beneficial to you and Staravia both. And your final Pokemon is a Buneri. That is so fascinating for me to see. I really was expecting that you would have a Shinx or a Luxio on your team. A lot of the trainers that are as far along in their Pokemon journey as you are tend to usually have a Shinx or a Luxio, but it seems like you didn't find that Pokemon too favorable to have on your team, which is totally okay. You have some really interesting Pokemon on your team like the Magikarp and the Buneri. I don't see that quite often in a lot of trainers' team. But if I take a step back and look at your whole Pokemon team holistically, there's a few things that I can recommend to you, and take this as advice from your Pokemon Professor. I am your coach after all, and I would like to see you succeed. You have a grass type in the form of your Torterra, right? And then the other thing is you also have a Lopunny, which you would get from Buneri in the future. Both of these Pokemon are going to be very weak to flying type, so two of your Pokemon are going to be very vulnerable to flying type. So I would just say that make sure you account for that by other Pokemon that you have in your team. Having a Gyarados when your Magikarp evolves would be a great answer to flying type, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Talking about the Gyarados, once your Magikarp evolves, and I hope it does because trust me, you don't want to end up with a Magikarp later down in your journey. But if you have a Gyarados which is flying type and water type, and you also have a Staraptor which is flying type and normal type, those two are also going to be very weak to electric type Pokemon. In fact, since your Gyarados is water type and flying type, it's going to be 4 times weak to electric type Pokemon. So that's another thing that you should keep in your mind. Once your Grottle evolves into Torterra, it becomes part ground type, so it might be able to answer a little bit of the problem against electric type Pokemon, but I would still recommend keeping that in your mind as you build your team further in your journey. Then finally, one final thing I would tell you is, if you find a dragon type Pokemon, do not even think twice about it. Just seize the opportunity and catch that Pokemon, because dragon types are really great to have. They are strong against mostly every single type that there is, except for dragon type itself, ice type, and fairy types. So look out for dragon types too. But overall, right now your team is looking good. Just keep what I've said in mind. That is an impressive amount of progress you've made so far. Amazing. Wonderful. If you don't mind, I would like to reward you for this amazing progress you've made. I have here with me HM Fly. Using this, you can fly to any place that you've been to already. It can be a little bit cumbersome to travel by foot to places you've already been to. Maybe you want to go back to Twin Leaf Town to visit your mom, or maybe you want to go somewhere else. Using this HM Fly, you can just get there in a matter of minutes. So I'll give this to you. Great job. And another thing I'll say is keep up the good work. If you have really good progress again, next time we meet, I'll give you another reward. Yeah. I'm also happy to see your Turtwig has evolved. Seems like you guys have a good bond, and I hope it's that the Turtwig's not giving you too much trouble. Yeah. Let me share with you some Pokemon catching tips, right? And you have 4 Pokemon already, but there are some superstitions around catching Pokemon, so take it with a grain of salt, and do it only if you really feel desperate enough to try these things. There is a superstition that says, if you throw your Pokeball and you're having a hard time catching a Pokemon, right after you throw a Pokeball, just pretend like you don't care. Look elsewhere. Like this. Just pretend like you care about everything in the world except for that Pokemon. Just look away. And people say it works. You have a better chance of catching a Pokemon if you pretend not to care right after throwing the Pokeball. Again, just a superstition, but maybe it'll come in handy. There's another superstition too, which says right after you throw a Pokeball, just push yourself down, apply your entire force downwards, and it gets transferred over to the Pokeball. So the Pokemon has a hard time getting out of the ball, breaking out, because the Pokeball is also pushing down because you are pushing down. It's another one of those superstitions, but I thought I'll share it with you. For being a professor, I know my fair bit of superstitions, and let me tell you, the way I got my Poochyena in the Hoenn region, it was all thanks to actually pushing myself down. Because I really wanted that Poochyena, and I already wasted through 4 Pokeballs. I threw another one, and I pushed down, and I caught it. So it seems like there is some truth to it. One more thing that I noticed is you have a Buneri on your team. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but your Buneri is not gonna evolve all that easily. It's one of those rare Pokemon that evolves based on friendship. So you need to have really good friendship with your Buneri in order to make it evolve. Now, how can you increase friendship with your Buneri? You are asking the right person. There's a couple of things that you can do. The first thing that you can do is make sure whenever you use Buneri in battles, that Buneri doesn't faint, okay? So Buneri must not faint, but that does not mean that you also just avoid using Buneri in battles. It needs to battle, but it needs to not faint as well, right? That's the first thing. The other thing is, don't give your Buneri herbal medicine. You know, herbs tend to be a little bit bitter, and that will decrease your friendship with your Buneri. There's some other things too, and we are actually in the perfect place right now because Café Cabin has one item called as Moo Milk. I didn't think you would need this, so I just got one myself. They used to actually give out unlimited, but they said that there was a trainer 3 years ago that came across and bought 100 bottles of Moo Milk, and they had to shut down their business for 30 days because they had no backlog on the Moo Milk productions. So now they just give one Moo Milk bottle for one table. I didn't think you would need it, so I just got it for myself, but it seems like you actually do need it. So I'm just going to put it over here, but before you leave, take this with you. Give a little bit of this Moo Milk to your Buneri every single day, and the friendship with your Buneri is going to go up because it's a really sweet milk. It comes from milk tanks. So that's another thing that you can do. As for who the trainer was 3 years ago, no, I think I have my guess, and I think you have your guess too. One final thing that you can do, in my opinion, is if you know Heart Home City, there's actually Pal Park in Heart Home City. In Pal Park, you can take your Pokemon out of your Pokeball and just walk around with them. That also tends to increase their friendship. So you can try doing that too, and since I just gave you Fly, maybe you can just fly back to Heart Home City and do that. If you do all these things, your Buneri is going to evolve, because let me tell you something, as you start getting stronger and challenging harder and harder gym leaders, it's really important that your Pokemon are fully evolved. So make sure you take care of this, right? And then as for Magikarp, I don't know how you're going to train it, but Magikarp is one of those Pokemon that is a hit or a miss. If it evolves, it's an absolute monster. And if it doesn't, then, well, you have a Magikarp on your hand. So I can't give you any more advice outside of that for the Magikarp. But for Buneri, keep that in your mind. I was also kind of surprised that you don't have a Bidoof on your team. It's like a rite of passage for trainers. The first thing they do when they start their adventure is catch a Bidoof, but it seems like you didn't catch one. That was kind of surprising to me as well. So overall, I would say great progress, and keep what I've said in mind and you will go far. I have a picture with me right now. This is that Pokemon right here, and then here are some things that they thought that Pokemon did and called them specific names, but the picture is right here. No, you can't have this. What, are you getting used to getting free stuff or something? I'm not giving this to you at all. You'd like to ask me about a Pokemon? Yeah, go for it. Oh, you don't know much about it? Well, do you have an image of that Pokemon? No? Well, can you draw it then? Remember the journal I gave you at the start of your journey? Maybe you can draw it on that journal, right? Okay, yeah, give it a try. Oh, you have the drawing ready? Yeah, let me see. I have to say you have really great drawing skills. Seems like you've taken some classes on artistry. But looks like no Pokemon that I've ever seen before. Oh, you want to change something on the drawing? Yeah, sure, take it. Change whatever you want. Okay, you're done? Okay. No, that can't be. Is that Giratina? That's impossible. How would someone know of Giratina's existence? This Pokemon is called Giratina. It appeared 3 years ago as well at the top of Mount Coronet, but this Pokemon lives in another dimension. Not a lot of people know of this. I think in the current landscape of the people that live in Sinnoh, it's only a handful of people that know about this Pokemon. I think people that were at the top of Mount Coronet when the whole thing happened, I think they might be the only ones that know of this Pokemon. The way I found out was Professor Rowan showed me photos of this Pokemon when we were doing our research work. But to think that someone knows about this Pokemon, just a random trainer, that is bizarre. If you don't mind me asking, could you describe the trainer to me? Red glasses and a black suit? Well, that is... that's funny. I was at the Lost Tower before I came to Solacean Ruins. Do you know the Lost Tower? No? Well, you wouldn't, because it's a place that comes just before Solacean Town. Many Pokemon are laid to rest there after they pass away. So someone like you would have no reason to go there. But I was doing some research on a Pokemon called Spiritomb and trying to see if it has any connection with the Lost Tower. And at the Lost Tower I saw a trainer with red glasses and a black suit. And the reason I remember that is it was a really peculiar dress, a very distinct dress from everybody else. And I ran into that person. It seems really bizarre to me that they would know about this Pokemon. You know what? Keep an eye on this person the next time you see them. And if something feels unusual, just let me know. I have a really bad feeling. But maybe it's just me overreacting in my mind. I get nervous very easily. I was nervous about Dialga as well, so maybe I'm overthinking it, but just keep an eye. And if you see anything unusual, then do let me know. And that reminds me, I think I should take your Pokedex number, because I haven't taken your Pokedex number yet, right? Yeah, give me your Pokedex number so that we can stay in touch. Yeah, I hope everything's alright, and I'm just worrying for nothing. Oh, looks like our order's coming in as well. Alright, let's have dinner. The dinner's on me. And then give me your Pokedex number right after this, okay? But great job, I have to say, great job so far. You've done a wonderful job. You have a great team on your hands. And your Pokedex is looking good too. The next time we meet, make sure you do more progress and I'll give you even more rewards, okay? Alright, yep. Bring it over.